Viewer discretion advised. This video contains disturbing imagery, flashing visuals, and unsettling themes that may cause discomfort. Audio may include repetitive sounds and distorted voices. Watch at your own discretion.
Hello again, but it's really not very good thing.
There's a video on the internet. It starts like this. You see a doorway, then hear a voice asking a question. Shaye, are you still doing that hand thing? And then you see her. She's sitting across a room. She's wearing a dress that looks like it came out of a trash can. Her face is a rubber mask. Pale skin, red painted lips. It sits a little wrong, like it doesn't quite fit. Her arms end in wooden doll hands on sticks, and she's pressing those hands together over and over and over. She can't stop, and the voice asks again, what is it? And she says back, her name, according to everything she has ever said about herself, is Shaye Saint John, and this is her story, or at least one version of it she wants you to know. Shaye used to be a famous model, one of the best, she says. She went to the fanciest parties, she knew celebrities. She'll tell you without anyone even asking that she is the most glamorous person alive. Then something happened. Depending on who you ask, she was hit by a train or hit by a car. Some kind of terrible accident happened. She lost both arms, both legs. She spent months in the hospital. While she was there, she says, the government ran experiments on her brain. She came out on the other side wearing a mask. Why a mask? She once explained it. It's really bad. That's why she wears the mask. Now she lives on a special compound for people with disabilities. Someone follows her around with the camera, recording her daily life. He calls himself her therapist. The videos he records are called triggers, not videos. Triggers. Each one is a snapshot of Shaye trying to live the glamorous life she thinks she deserves, while her broken body keeps getting in the way. Now here's the thing, you can see right away that something is off. You can see the mask, you can see the fake arms, nothing is hidden from you, and yet something in your brain says this is wrong. Before you can even figure out why, you already feel it. The uncomfortable feeling is not coming from you. The uncomfortable feeling is not coming from what you can't see. It is coming from what you can see. A person trapped inside a body that does not belong to them. Trying to be something they were never built to be. And failing in ways that make your skin crawl. Sometimes between recordings, the costume was left in the corner of a room. Just the mask and the empty dress draped over a wheelchair. A ghost waiting for someone to put it on. The very first triggers were passed around on VHS tapes in the late 1990s. They played at nightclubs in Los Angeles and Chicago. The first big public showing was a video called Turkey Day. It played at a theater in Los Angeles on February 1st, 2002. According to people who were there, the crowd split right down the middle. Some people could not look away, some people got up and walked out. The theater banned it after that night. A DVD collection of the first 30 triggers came out in 2004. It runs about 92 minutes. I want to show you some of what is on it, because you need to feel these videos before you can understand what they mean. Trigger 1, Turkey Day. Shaye has been invited to a party. She uses a sun lamp to try and get a tan. She asks Kiki, a small burned doll that is her best friend and has magical powers, to remind her to step away from the lamp after 5 minutes. Kiki does not remind her. Shaye's rubber face turns brown and burnt under the lamp. The whole time, a woman's voice plays underneath everything, saying over and over, she had a room in a home for women, a circle of friends, and a job in a factory. She was a beautiful person. She was a beautiful person. She was a beautiful person. That voice is not talking about Shaye, the character. That voice is talking about a real life, a normal life. A woman who had a place to live and some friends and a job. A life before all of this. Trigger 7, Kitty Candy. Shaye is on her porch feeding cats. She gives them Cheerios and calls them kitty candy. She talks to them while the video around her starts to look more and more like a bad dream. A voice underneath asks, what's wrong with Shaye? What's wrong with Shaye's kitty? Trigger 10, Pop Shaye. Shaye is completely convinced that Andy Warhol, one of the most famous artists in history, is her close personal friend. She shows edited photos of the two of them together as proof. She says, Andy Warhol once told me I was the most glamorous person alive. What do you think? I think it's true. Andy Warhol died in 1987. These videos were made in the early 2000s. She doesn't care though and keeps saying it like it's the most obvious fact in the world. And then there's the hand thing. Hand thing is the video that the internet found. It was uploaded on July 13th, 2007. It starts with someone peering around the door frame asking, Shaye, are you still doing that hand thing? And it cuts to Shaye pressing her wooden doll hands together in a fast loop she can't break. Pressing, releasing, over and over. She can't explain it and she can't stop it. She just says, I heard, I heard, I heard. One person who watched all 30 triggers back to back wrote this afterward. After watching them, I took a shower and felt like there were bugs crawling on me. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand what kind of thing you're watching. There are no monsters here. No jump scares, no blood. The uncomfortable feeling comes from somewhere deeper. It comes from looking at something your brain can't put in a box. A face that's not quite a face. A body that is not quite a body. A person that's not quite a person. And underneath all of it, in every single video, you can feel the same thing. A desperate need to be seen, to be loved, to be glamorous, and famous and known. Shaye Saint John is scary, and she is heartbreaking, sometimes in the same shot. The website, shayesaintjohn.net, is its own rabbit hole. It looked like it was made in 2001 because it basically was. The second you opened it, music started playing by itself. Sound effects went off, everything blinked and flashed. Pages led to more pages that led to even more pages. You could get lost in it for hours. There was a whole page about how angry Shaye was at someone named Maureen. There was a medical page for a made-up brain condition called cerebellum. There were pages for all of Shaye's doll friends. Kiki, the burnt doll with telekinesis. Debris, who weighed 35 pounds and posed as a dead body for creepy magazines, and Kristen, who had powers and a drug problem. There was even a page for Shaye's charity called Save Abused Dolls. She was the founder and the CEO. One filmmaker who spent years going through that website called it the most amazing map of a broken mind he had ever seen. Every single word on it was a choice. Every link took you somewhere unexpected. The whole site felt like being inside a brain that had come completely loose from reality and decided to build a new one. And at the center of all of it, Shaye, founder of SAD, best friend of Andy Warhol, the most glamorous person alive. The YouTube channel launched on August 30th, 2006. 56 triggers went up between 2006 and 2007. The internet found them slowly at first, then all at once. Old forums, Reddit, early YouTube comment sections. The videos traveled the way truly strange things travel. Not through ads, but through people grabbing their friends and saying, "You have to see this. I can't explain why, but just watch." And in every single one of those conversations, the same question kept coming up. Is she real? Not as a joke, as a serious question. Because these videos didn't fit into any category. They were too consistent and too detailed to be a simple prank. Too weird to be normal performance art. The character had a blog, a MySpace page. She answered comments. She signed autographs. She gave advice. She acted exactly like a real person living a real life. A post from an old internet forum put it perfectly. Does anyone have information on her? I've heard two different stories. A, this is all fake and made for a short film. And B, Shaye Saint John is a real person who lost all 4 limbs. Even people who were there when the videos were made couldn't agree on who was actually inside the costume. Nobody knew, and that was not an accident. Because whoever was behind that mask had worked very hard to make sure you never found out. His name was Eric Joseph Fournier. To understand what he built, you first have to understand who he was and what he was not able to be. Eric Fournier was born on September 9th, 1967 in Bloomington, Indiana. Not much is known about his childhood. What we do know is that by the mid-1980s, he was the lead singer of a punk band called Blood Farmers. They put out a record in 1985, and here's the first thing that actually matters. He was terrible at being the lead singer. Not his voice, but with his presence. He couldn't stand in a spotlight and let people look at him. A friend described it like this: he was never comfortable being the singer. It was not about wanting to be famous. He would kind of keep his back to the crowd, make faces, and keep some distance from the whole singer thing. His back to the crowd, remember that. But even though he hated the spotlight, Eric was the person in his friend group who kept traveling to Los Angeles and coming back with whatever was new and interesting. A friend remembered, "I always felt excited when Eric came back from LA. What cool thing would he bring back this time? He never let us down." He could find the interesting edges of things and bring them home to share. He just couldn't stand in the middle of it himself. Eventually in the 1990s, Eric moved to Los Angeles for good. He started a small filmmaking group called Empty Socket Productions, and it was there, in some messy room somewhere in that city, that Eric Fournier built a woman out of rubber and wood and started talking to her. He wrote himself into the story as the man behind the camera, the therapist. In every single official credit across the whole life of this project, his name never appeared next to the mask. He was never listed as the person inside the costume. He was just a shy kid from Indiana who had finally found a way to stand in a spotlight. In the early 2000s, at an art venue in North Hollywood called the California Institute of Abnormal Arts, people would come to watch the triggers and then stand around guessing who was inside the costume. Most people thought it was the venue's owner, a loud and charming man named Carl Crew. People would walk up to Crew and ask if he could get Shaye to come to a party. What they really meant was, could he wear the costume? One of those people was an art curator named Lenora Claire. Claire fell in love with the triggers the first time she saw them. She started following Shaye's blog, and then at some point, she and Shaye started talking on Instant Messenger. "Every day I would come home from my terrible job," Claire later told a reporter, "get on Instant Messenger and talk to Shaye for hours and hours. She would give me advice about everything. She would cheer me on. She would say, people don't get you, but forget those people. All those lovely things. Everyone wants a friend like that." She had no idea. Months of this, coming home, opening her laptop, talking to Shaye, being told her work mattered, building a real friendship with someone she had never once doubted was real. And then one day around 2002 or 2003, Claire was standing with Eric Fournier at the art venue, and Eric was smiling at her in a strange way, like someone holding a secret and deciding whether to let it go. And then he said, "You know I'm Shaye." Claire kept this secret for years, out of respect for him, out of respect for what he had made. She said later, "We had a real trust with each other about everything we had talked about online. Think about that. A man so shy he could not face a crowd in a punk band. A man who could not stand in front of another person and say, I see you, I believe in you, your work matters. Forget the people who don't get it. That same man went home, put on a rubber mask, picked up wooden doll hands on sticks, and became someone who could say all those things every single day for hours. Shaye Saint John was not just a character. Shaye Saint John was the version of Eric Fournier that was brave enough to love people out loud. The YouTube channel grew to 88,000 subscribers. Some videos got over 100,000 views. Critics kept comparing the work to other artists, Tim and Eric, David Lynch, John Waters. What they didn't realize was that Eric was doing this years before most of those comparisons even existed. He got there first and nobody noticed. And then came the silence. New videos slowed way down after 2007. Eric's last known online activity was around 2008. The site stayed up, the video stayed up, but the person keeping everything going had quietly stepped away. Something was happening to Eric Fournier, and the costume couldn't fix it and couldn't be stopped. Carl Crew, who had worked with Eric for almost 10 years, later described what he watched happen to his friend in his final years as something that moved fast and couldn't be stopped. Alcoholism. The kind that gets worse quickly. The kind that pulls someone who is already hiding from the world even further into the dark. The kind that for a man who had always struggled to just be in his own body without covering it up must have felt like the only way to survive the day. On February 25th, 2010, Eric Joseph Fournier died in a hospital in Palm Springs, California. The cause was bleeding inside his body from years of heavy drinking. He was 42 years old. His death notice ran in the Los Angeles Times nearly 4 months later, placed by a friend. It said, Fournier Eric Joseph, September 9th, 1967 to February 25th, 2010. This world has lost a great mind, a great talent, and a great friend. R.I.P. good friend. We will miss you until we say, Shay's most famous phrase. She used it in almost every video. The man was gone, the mask was still there. His friends couldn't separate the two anymore. Maybe they never could. A filmmaker who had been making a documentary about Eric wrote this. My father was 76 when he passed away. Eric hit the bottle harder. Eric never made it to his 43rd birthday. He never got to see what his work could become. He died before the internet fully found it. Before the strangers at 2 a.m. watching Hand Thing alone in their bedrooms finally figured out what they were seeing. He built something incredible in a messy room in Los Angeles, and then he died. And only after his death did the internet find it and couldn't look away. At Eric Fournier's memorial service, his friends played a video. Not a slideshow of old photos, not a video of him laughing, not a speech by someone who loved him, but a video of Shaye Saint John, the rubber mask, the doll hands, the high-pitched drone, Shaye Saint John showing up to the funeral of the man who wore her, because that was the most honest thing his friends could think to do. Because for the people who knew Eric, that was who he really was. Not the shy man who kept his back to the crowd, the thing that was brave enough to exist when he couldn't, the face he wore when his own face felt like too much. Carl Crew was asked in a 2015 interview about Shaye. He said some friends had taken her into hiding after Eric died, to keep her safe from more government experiments. She was in witness protection. Then, near the end of the interview, the reporter noted that Crew went quiet for a moment. And then Crew said, Shaye is still alive. A pause, and she's coming back. I've been thinking about what it means to build a version of yourself that is braver than you are. Most of us do it in small ways. The thing you can only say in a text message, the version of you that only comes out on a phone call. The way you talk online versus the way you talk face to face. Eric Fournier did it in the biggest way possible. He built her out of rubber and wood and cheap wigs and years of work. He gave her a whole world, a compound, a best friend doll, a detailed backstory, a website that went on forever, a blog where she gave real advice to real strangers every single day. He made her as real as he possibly could in every way except one, every way except taking the mask off. And through her, he did the thing he could never do as himself. He stood in front of people and he let them look. He told Lenora Claire that her art mattered. He made real friendships. He built a group of fans who loved what he had made and who would keep it alive long after he was gone. He became something that lasts. Not the fake Hollywood kind of famous that Shaye was always chasing. The real kind. The kind where the work he made keeps finding new people years after you're gone and makes them feel something true. The YouTube channel got deleted in 2017. Within days, fans had re-uploaded everything. And by 2023, Eric's own company had launched an official new channel with the original recordings. The website was rebuilt. The archive is safe. The videos are still online. The website is still there. The rubber mask is somewhere in the world right now. Maybe in a box, maybe draped over a chair in a room somewhere, waiting. Shaye's still alive. She's coming back. I don't know what Carl Crew means when he says that. I don't know if he means it literally or if he's just refusing to let go of something he loved or if there's even a difference between those two things. What I do know is this. I've watched Hand Thing more times than I can count. I've watched the wooden doll hands pressing together in that fast, endless loop and heard the voice saying, I heard, I heard, I heard. And the longer I've spent inside this story, the more that video has started to mean something different to me. The constant reaching, the pressing and releasing, the motion that looks from the outside like something broken, but from the inside might just be the only thing those hands know how to do. Eric Fournier spent decades pressing himself up against the glass of the world, trying to connect with people, building a character who needed to be loved with an intensity that only a very lonely person truly understands. Making things in a messy room that found strangers at 2 a.m. and made them feel something they couldn't explain.